This is Comic Geek Speak episode 1930, catching up with Dave Wachter. Welcome to the show. I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Ian Levinstein.
And I'm Chris Eberly. Oh, Levy Poo, the music.
Had to go old school tonight. Yep. Of all nights, we always manage to do this. And I was saying this pre-show that we always manage to record on the actual anniversary of the show, whether we know we're doing so or not. and then I remind myself, it's Raf Suhu's birthday. That means it's also Comic Geek Speak's birthday. You guys happen to share a birthday. So happy birthday, Raf, as we record this. And happy 19th birthday, Comic Geek Speak.
Yep, that's crazy.
That? You know, it's crazy, and I'm wearing a shirt just about that old. And we have there's Murds.
The Clark Kent
Ian,
CGS.
actually, that the original art for that, I have that hanging up on my wall over there. I purchased it from the guy who did it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mike Parkinson, I think was his name. And it's over by the TV, so I see
Australia,
it when I watch TV. Yep, Australia.
Excellent. And
so Shane, 19 years. How do you feel?
Old. I was thinking I was like 30, going on 32 when we started this. That's crazy.
I felt old when I saw the episode 100 picture that I posted to Instagram, and I'm like, who the hell is that child?
Or 30, 33, 32, 33. My math is bad.
Well, joining us for this episode, as said in the introduction, a man whose first appearance on Comic Geek Speak was episode 102, dating back to February 6, 2006. Wow. The one and only Dave Wachter. Welcome back to Comic Geek Speak.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. Happy anniversary, guys. You all don't day over 16. Actually, I got to tell you, technically speaking, I was on episode 43.5, which was when Chris Niesman went around with a microphone to Wizard World Chicago and recorded people, interviewed people, and then sent the recording in for you guys to play. And so it was a half episode. So I'm counting it.
Oh, no. That counts. Yep, that counts. So August 9th, 2005 would be your first appearance.
Which was right at the beginning of the career. That was my first summer of doing conventions. As the first time I had books to sell when I was doing that Scar Tissue was the book that we self-published, and we did like 5 issues of, and that was the very beginning. So you guys have been there since almost the very beginning.
Yep.
It's really terrifying when you start saying, well, that's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to explain. I was like talking just recently. I was talking about my career to people, and I was like, I guess I started doing this like in kind of earnest in 2004. 2004.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, and that's like what, 3 years ago? Right, 4 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yep,
right.
exactly.
Feels it.
Yep. Goddamn.
Yeah.
You guys.
Back when my back didn't hurt.
You had to go onto a message board if you wanted to talk to anybody.
Hey,
I still had a rotary phone in my house.
Without that message board, I wouldn't be here right now. So we that Comic Geek Speak forum, man, that got the ball rolling in so many different ways. And
right.
Yep.
And maybe still be recording if we're in that state of decrepitude that Dave just so very well
but half the episode will be,
It already is. Well, but before we get any further along here and the goings on and whatnot, quick usual plug to patreon.com/Comic Geek Speak for letting these episodes happen. For as little as $1 a month, you guys continue to keep both the virtual and the studio episodes aflowing, and we thank you so much for that continued support that you give in any way that you can. comicgeekspeak.com/donate.php if you're not a member of Patreon and still want to support the show. And please send reviews, participate on the super group. The forum's still there. Like any other way that you can participate or just share, spreading the word matters just as much. So we thank you so much for all that support that you give over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. And because I'm getting this episode out as fast as I can possibly get it out, Murd, over to you real quick for a final reminder on the Best of 2023 awards.
Okay, folks, the deadline's fast approaching here. Midnight Eastern Standard Time on this upcoming Sunday, March, looking at the calendar on the wall over here, March 10th.
Yep.
That's the deadline to get those ballots in, and as of now, we really could use a few more submissions. We don't have a lot of them in the inbox so far. So best of, that's BESTOF at comicgeekspeak.com. Go to our Facebook supergroup to see the 16 categories in which we need nominees. Put together a ballot nominating someone or something in at least 8 of those categories. Send it in by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday night.
Excellent. Fan-damtastic. All right, Dave, you know what? It's been long enough where I am going to ask a question that we usually ask for people who have been on the show for the first time to you as a refresher, just in case you never actually answered it before or just in case people weren't listening back in 2006. How did you first get into comics when you were a kid?
Oh, well, I was always into, it probably all started with cartoons, as a lot of it does when you're a kid. That's sort of your first entry point. So like the original Spider-Man cartoon and stuff, and Justice League or Super Friends, one of them, and stuff like that. But then I was probably about 8 or 9 years old when I discovered I had 2 older brothers that are 6 and 9 years older than me, and I discovered like a stack. They had a stack this high of comics, and it was like that tall of a stack, and I was like, that is so many comics. Look at all of those. And they had Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man and Thor comics and a few Star Wars comics, all from like I'm gonna say like 77 and 78. So I'm seeing them probably about 1984. And then I had a friend in school who was really into comics. His name was Tim. And he was really into comic books, and I kind of got into comic books through him in about 1984, 85. And then I was Secret Wars 2 was coming out at the time, and I was like, there are so many characters in these books, they're going to be worth a fortune when I'm older. Because that's what I thought. The more people they put in the book meant the more it was going to be worth.
Of course.
And so, and then I was just reading comics. I just, I loved them. And as soon as I was reading them, I was like trying to draw them, because drawing was always like a first love for me. I'd been drawing since I could remember. And so I remember I had, I can't remember the number now, but it was 290 something of Captain America. And it's got him and Bucky, and he's reliving, Baron Zemo makes him relive the death of Bucky. And so it's got them hanging from like an airplane.
I remember that. Yep.
On the cover, about to fall, in a flashback. And I was like redrawing panels out of that, making my own like Captain America book. I did a Thundercats book based on like episodes of Thundercats that I was watching. So I remember we didn't have a VHS at the time, so every day at the same time I would just sit there and like draw it as fast as I could. I was like, what's the cat's lair look like? What's the cat's lair look like? And then try to draw it as fast as I could, and then get as much down as I could, and then wait till the next day to look at it again and try to get those characters and stuff to look right. But yeah, that was
Nice.
and then I read comics, right up until I was probably about 17. So then we're moving into like the early 90s, and a lot of people are going to say, well, yeah, I think a lot of people got out in the early 90s, but also it was, I was like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
It just like other stuff kind of took over. And for most of the time that I was, besides Tim that I knew way back when, I didn't have friends that read comics. My dad would read my comics, my brother might pick one up, but I didn't have it was easy for me to fall out of them because I didn't have friends who read them. I didn't know people who read them. There was,
Right.
I was just reading them myself alone. So, I just kind of fell out of them and then came back to them. It was probably like 8 or 9 years later as an adult in Chicago. About this 2001, I remember getting back into it because I saw Amazing Spider-Man at the Osco, which is sort of like a Walgreens in Chicago, and they had a little rack of comics, and I saw Amazing Spider-Man there, and I actually think it was the 9/11 issue.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, which is ouch, but I mean, I was like, there's a Spider-Man comic with an all black cover, and I open it up, and it's the 9/11 one. It's like, oh, now I got to buy it. But also it was John Romita Jr., whom I loved when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I knew from his first run on the X-Men, from his Daredevil run, his Punisher War Journal, his second X-Men run, I loved his stuff. So seeing him back on Amazing Spider-Man, I started picking him up again. And then I also owe it to my brother because I had a birthday. Is this going on too long?
No.
Not at all.
This is all fascinating, to be honest with you.
So this is after, and I'm 25 or 26 or whatever. I'm out of college and all that in Chicago. My brother moved up with me for a few years in Chicago. And for my birthday, he had gotten me a subscription. You could still, I don't know if you still can, but you subscribe to Marvel Comics and send them in the mail, just like when I was a kid. And when I used to get Web of Spider-Man and West Coast Avengers in the mail. So he subscribed me for Amazing Spider-Man and Daredevil because he knew I was reading Spider-Man again, and he knew I loved Daredevil back in the day. Again, at the end, the Senti run with John Romita Jr. was one of my favorites. And so now Daredevil was Alex Maleev and Michael Bendis.
Oh yeah.
Which I really like that run, and they're doing things. Maleev's they're both doing things with the medium I hadn't really quite seen before, at least with superhero comics, and I started to really get back into them again. Then my next impetus for this was I received I got an email from the headmaster of my old grade school. I went to a very small private Episcopalian grade school from 4th through 8th grade.
The school for gifted youngsters, clearly.
Yeah. It was because my parents saw what was coming up for me at the public school, and they were like, we gotta get him somewhere. Let's scrape together some cash get him into some other school. So my headmaster contacted me through an email. His name is Dr. Paul Dow Dawson. He was awesome, and I have such fond memories of that school and of him and of the teachers there. I loved it so much, and he reminded me. He was the email was called "Looking for the David Wachter I knew," and he found me just online through and got my email. And he had mentioned at one point we had a project where we illustrated and we wrote and illustrated our own children's book. They had them printed up and they had them bound with that plastic ring binding, that snaps. But they like back in the 80s, they got used computers to put the text over it and managed to make like 10 copies of each book that the kids did. And he was like, whatever happened to that book? Like, do you do any illustration stuff like that? And I was like in my 20s, I was out of art school, but I wasn't doing art and I wasn't really doing anything with my talents, like much at all. And so, it got me thinking like what, wow, children's book illustration, drawing, stuff like that. And then the more I looked into it, I was like, I really don't know anything about children's book illustration, but I'm getting into comics again, and I kind of like to start drawing them again, like I used to. When I was a kid, I used to draw my own. I used to have pages and pages of notebooks full of stories that I wrote, full on scripts.
Sure.
That I wrote and then drew. A lot of it had to do with World War III and the Russians. It was the 80s.
Little Red Dawn for you. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was like, so I used to do that stuff all this. So I started getting back into it, and these just a series of events, these things like that, plus my brother discovering comics again, my brother getting the subscriptions for me, my old headmaster contacted me. just got it all rolling until I was like, I think I want to draw comics again. I want to try this. And then I found, I found some like sample scripts online, and there was one that Dark Horse used to put out for The Ghost. That was like a 5-page sample script that you could just try your talents out on. And I drew those pages, and then I started getting onto message boards for comic book art, and I remember putting them up there, and that's what teamed me up with a writer, and then we started Scar Tissue, and then met you guys, and then it all went downhill from there.
Well, I'll tell you, it went downhill in all the right ways. Because I remember through the show discovering Scar Tissue back in the day, and sharing an image of it here. For a trip down memory lane, to say the least, and getting interested in it. And one of my favorite things that I get to talk about on this show is people that we knew way back when, and where they are now. And the fact that you started off with a small little indie like this, and are now working on Planet of the Apes, Iron Fist, Punisher, and now your new upcoming Uncanny Valley with Tony Fleeks. It just leaps and bounds, man. Leaps and bounds. I am so happy to see where it's gone. And Uncanny Valley is, to pardon my French, my type of shit. Like, that is absolutely everything that you described about your love of 80s culture, of 80s animation, and everywhere in between is oozing out of this book in the art and the style of it all. And man, people are going to love this book when it's out on the stands. I 100% believe that.
Well, I appreciate that. I really hope you're right. But it's I mean, I haven't done a creator-owned book in at least a decade.
Yeah.
So to be able to come back to it with this is really pretty thrilling. For the last I've been doing Godzilla, Ninja Turtles, and then the last 3 years I've been doing a lot of Marvel stuff, various books and everything. So I feel like I had an itch to want to do some creator-owned work again, but it's hard to get something like that going when you've got obligations and
sure,
yeah,
a mortgage and all that kind of business. It's like
sure.
But when Tony came to me, whom I've known again since for as long as I've known you guys, I mean, we were both on the Bendis board together, and I had first met him at Wizard World Chicago 2005, which is the same one that that we did that interview. So a lot of stuff happened at that show. That was quite a show. So when he approached me about doing this, it was just like the timing worked. We're working with Boom, who just puts out, like, they put out a lot of beautiful, good looking books that are really good, really smart, really nice books that I like. And it was a type of thing where they were willing to like do an advance so that I could like work on it and get some money while I'm working on it, as instead of having to wait like 3 months after the issue comes out to see if we make any money. Which is really one of the restrictive things of doing a creator-owned book. It's just like,
sure.
Can you sit and wait? Can you do the whole thing and then wait another 3 months and hope that it hits and makes some money for you? But this, like, Tony had told me about this story like probably 10 years ago. We were rooming together at C2E2 in Chicago. And he was like, I got this idea for this book. And it's kind of the cartoon world meets the real world. And there would be cartoons, sort of a Roger Rabbit kind of thing, where cartoons come into the world and interact with real people and things like that. He was like, I think it'd be really good for drawing like the real world elements. And so that's when I told him, oh, so you want me to draw all the boring parts? But you know, he's had this thing on his mind for like 10 years, and then when he approached me, he was like, "What? You know, I think you could handle both parts of it." I was like, "Yeah, I think I could."
Yeah.
I mean, doing cartoony stuff is like out of my wheelhouse, but I sort of feel like when you're a cartoonist, which is what any good comic book artist is, a cartoonist, right? So, you know, you kind of, I think more comic book artists than you realize know how to switch up their styles. You know, it's just that you kind of get known for something, or you get pigeonholed or typecast into a certain style. But like so many artists I know have like a cartoon, like people who draw realistic, like have a cartoony style in their back pocket ready to go in any time that they just don't ever get to utilize.
Right.
So yeah, it was pretty. So like this came along and it was just like, oh, this is perfect. You know, like, but Tony is like, I've known him forever. He's a good friend, and he just happens to be like I think one of the best writers in comics today.
Yeah.
I mean, his work on Stray Dogs and Local Man, it's just, and then what he's coming out soon with Feral, and the work he's doing on Army of Darkness. I mean, I'm an Army of Darkness fan, so to see him pick up and do a sequel to the director's cut ending of that, I mean, he's like, I like his writing a lot, and you know, I got lots of like. That doesn't always happen, where a person who's your friend is also good at the thing. And like, you know, I've got friends that I don't necessarily want to work with, you know, because you know, not everybody I know. You know, sometimes your friends, you're like, oh, yeah. You're good, yeah, I love you, you're great.
Yeah, pat on head, you know.
But there's only so many that you can really take that risk with. Yeah. You know, and really and go out on a limb and know that they'll be able to carry their end well. You know, and I think that's few and far between for everybody. So so this came around at the perfect time. I was finishing up with Punisher, and I was just like, this is perfect. This is perfect. I can't wait to work on it. Just like and it just, the wheels start turning. You start getting ideas of how designing things, you know, and being back at the design phase of a book, you know, where you're really establishing the characters and the look and the feel and everything is yours. You're not jumping into a character that's been around for 30, 40 years. You're getting to do it yourself. Like, this is you from the ground up. It's so exciting, and I really missed that. And I don't know if I knew how much I missed it until I got into it again, and I was doing it, and I was just like, this is amazing. I'm so happy that I get to do this. But yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
That's awesome.
It kind of oozes off the page too, to be honest.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm, not only in the storytelling but in the artwork is apparent, and frankly, like, to describe it for any of you who may not be, you know, aware of the general premise, you know, we've all kind of like imagined, you know, the fantasy world coming to life and what have you. And it's happened in a bunch of other books over the years, but this is kind of like that to like the nth level here. Cause clearly, you know, there's a connection in this book that is going to be explored in future issues that you don't necessarily find in like the real world bleeding over into, you know, into the fantasy world, or reverse type of storytelling that's going on here. Like this is almost like, it kind of reminds me of like an animation version of the Terminator in some ways. Well, just because of, you know, like, at least from the first issue and the way they set it up, there's quite literally a "come with me if you want to live" moment.
Yeah.
That just like makes it all come together. That just completely has me intrigued with wherever the hell this is going to go next. So, yeah, it's great stuff.
When I started reading it, I got to page 11 and I went nuts. It's when you first see his room. And I loved all the stuff you crammed into the bedroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was that I spent a lot of time thinking about that page. And thinking about that panel. So it's a for those who haven't seen it, it's a panel where the kid comes home and he's just been suspended from school, and he runs into his room. He's ignoring his mom and telling him to do homework, and he runs into his room, dropping off his backpack, and here's Fiona again, and I wanted to draw his room with all of his stuff, all the stuff that he's into. You know, Tony had written that, you know, all his toys are around. He's got posters on the walls. He's into comics. He's into, you know, cartoons. He's into sports. He's, you know, all the stuff that a 12-year-old kid would be into. So I sort of wanted to put that all in there, make it a mess. You know, have his desk with his markers and his pens all over the place. Have his books stacked up all over the place. Have his comic books laying around. Have his dirty clothes hanging out. You know, have all sorts of posters on the walls of like the He-Man type the cartoon that he watches, or the Pokemon type thing, or of a guy riding a motorcycle, or of you know, he's got a robot on his desk. You know, I mean, then he's got an old can of like soda sitting there that's probably totally gross, dried out. You know, because not only do I remember being a kid, but also very recently I had a stepson who was that age. You know, so I remember, you know, stepping into that room and being like, oh my God, there's stuff all over the place.
Yep.
So I tried to give a little bit of that, you know, and just him sticking stickers on the side of his little TV and stuff like that, you know, just try to give him a little bit of everything. But I mean, I should probably tell people at home like the rough premise of what this book is.
Yeah, by all means.
So you got this kid, Oliver, who's 12 years old. He lives with his mom, and who's a traveling nurse. So he's always the new kid in school, and he never feels like he fits in. He doesn't know anything about any other family and what his heritage is or anything kind of like that. And he always just wants to fit in. And then he starts to have these weird incidents happen to him, and it seems like he might have some like kind of like weird powers or something going on. And then it turns out that he finds out his grandfather is a world famous cartoon Pecos Pete, basically Yosemite Sam, but you know, we don't have the rights to use Yosemite Sam.
Yep.
There he is on the cover. Who comes charging in because the kid and his mom are being chased down by this huge murder of crows, like evil cartoon crows that are coming after him to get him, because now that he started showing these powers, it's sort of a, I also like to call it like a Percy Jackson, but instead of Greek gods, it's cartoons.
Yes.
So that's basically what it is. And his grandpa, basically says, "Come with me, you want to live," and we're off on an adventure, road trip. We meet new cartoons along the way. In every issue, he discovers new abilities and powers that he's able to do because he's part cartoon, right? And meanwhile, there's somebody's after him, and they want him, and you know. So what's going to happen with that? And it turns into, eventually, it becomes this really big, huge, like world spanning and world saving cartoons from throughout the ages, you know, from all different points of history. You know, he even says at one point, I think in the second issue, it's like, where are all the cool cartoons? You know, like, because he's like, I like cartoons, and his grandpa was like, oh, all right, he's like, no, I like cool cartoons. He likes like Transformers and He-Man and like, you know, like the other cartoons that a 12-year-old boy would like. So, you know, if we're allowed to go far enough with the book, you know, like all of that stuff will come into it. Right now, we're solicited for 6 issues. If we do well enough, there's another 6 we're ready to do. That'll really make it this big, huge thing, you know. And that also boils back down to just this little family, you know, about a kid and his mom and grandpa and where he fits in the world. So, yeah.
That first scene with the crows, I had seen the cover before I read the issue, so I knew that there were going to be, you know, cartoon crows, but just the way that you executed that, where they go from being like these frightening crows to then being like the crows from the old like Looney Tunes shorts or what have you. Like with the very visible cartoon beaks and everything, just drives it home even further in such a wonderful way.
And I actually had the opposite experience, Ian, because I actually read the story without looking at the cover.
Nice.
So what was really wonderful about it all these little hints that something is not normal about this, or out of sorts, however you want to put it. Mm-hmm. And then when Pecos Pete finally appears, like it blew off the top of my head. I was like, oh, that's why he's got an indentation in the ground when he fell off the bridge. But it was so thrilling to. Plus, I mean, kudos to Dave, because the way you capture that Looney Tunes type look is so dead on with that character.
Yeah.
And I was so glad I had not seen the cover, because I just enjoyed his first appearance all the more.
And I could hear those types of cartoony voices in my head reading it. Yeah. For all the different characters, the Crows, Pecos Pete. It was amazing.
By the way, as a side note, the coloring in the story is absolutely gorgeous.
It's outstanding. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Really well done.
Thanks. Yeah, I was when I was offered it, I was like, I want to do all the art,
mm-hmm.
from the layouts all the way through the sound effects. I want to do all the art for this. And so it's a lot of fun. I feel like I'm breaking out a little bit from things I've been doing. I haven't colored myself in a long time, and it's a thrill to be able to get to do it. I had to figure out a way to do it, a technique to do it, so that I could still do it on schedule and stuff like that. So people who might be used to my real detailed inks, my heavy blacks in Punisher and stuff like that, like this is a different style for me, of where it's almost for like a pencil line, a very open pencil line, at least for the real world stuff, with a lot of, and then very sort of painterly-ish colors for the real world stuff. And then of course I wanted to have the contrast of the cartoons coming in, so that the cartoons look different. So they've got solid, single thickness black line around them, and flat cell animation coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And of course it'll be in different cartoons through different ages will look different. So if there's a cartoon that harkens back to the black and white era, it'll be in black and white, So
so cool.
Yeah. It's really well done. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Murd, I know we were both anticipating this, from when we discussed it on previews and what have you, but this is, I assume, absolutely right up your alley.
For certain. I mean, it's when I saw the solicit there in previews, I thought, well, this is a really cool sounding concept, and I was 100% on board with the idea before I even knew you were involved, Dave. But your artwork here is just like several inches of frosting on an already tasty cake. And congrats. I mean, the colors look fantastic. I mean, you never know that you hadn't colored yourself in a decade. It looks beautiful. And I'm looking forward to future issues when it sounds like you're going to be juggling like half a dozen different styles of art at once, just to show us all these different cartoon characters from different genres and time periods. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, that's what makes it exciting, though. To always be able to get to do that. So, whether I'm imitating, because that's what, whether I'm imitating like a Disney style or a Warner Brothers style, or even like a Filmation style, or what Ralph Bakshi style, whatever. Going all the way, all the way back to Gertie. I mean, so. It's exciting to be able to have something like I'm not going to be bored. That's for that.
So is Gertie the dinosaur actually going to be in it, or is that just a for instance?
I'm not going to say one way.
I'll never press it further.
I'm not going to say, because there's going to be lots of appearances by people, by characters that you will find. You'll be like, oh, okay, be like, when that shows up, you're gonna be like, oh, damn, there's that, and then something else shows up, you're gonna be like, oh, that reminds, it's like, it's our versions of it, but you'll know what it is, when you see it, yeah.
Well, the love of the genre bleeds through in so many different ways, and I cannot wait. I really cannot wait to see where else this is going to go here. And piggybacking off the coloring too, that is another. I mean, that is 100% what I noticed immediately. And as you said, Dave, it does differentiate the real world from the cartoon world in such a great way. Because the style that you chose just makes it that much more hyper real versus, cartoony. So excellent choice on that. Excellent choice.
yeah, it was sort of like the challenge of it was like, I mean, it's how do you make cartoons look like they're different, because you are drawing all of it. You know, it's not like it's not like these are photographs of people and then you put in a cartoon in it, or you know, it's not like Roger Rabbit. You had real actors, and so then when you put in a cartoon, you could tell the difference. It's like, how do I draw both things and make you think that one is the world and one is the cartoon world? So that was the challenge of it, and hopefully I'm pulling it off. But it's at least fun to try.
Oh, definitely. Yep. And what's the street date for issue 1, just to make sure that we 100%.
It's going to be April 10th, and the for all of those in the know, the FOC, the final order cutoff, is March 18th. So if you're pre-ordering with your local comic shop, you got to get that in by March 18th. So but you know, create our own books like this. It's all about those pre-orders. You know, and like I hinted at before, like a lot of how far we get to go with this series is really dependent on how like this first issue does, you know, and how the pre-orders are for that. So we're, you know, we got like, you know, less than 2 weeks to figure out whether I'm going to be busy for the next 12 months or the next 6 months. So
I appreciate the variant covers that on offer too for this, you know, both by Tony himself and Brett Bean there. Nice different styles at play for the main characters there.
Yeah, there's also a Dan Morrow one that's got a real Looney Tune vibe. The characters are coming out of that's all folks circle thing, right? You know? I don't if you know his work from Klaus. You know, that's a beautiful cover too. Yeah, they get Boom likes to do the variant covers at different levels and all that kind of, you know, 1 of 25 or 1 of 50, you know, stuff like that. So there's plenty for people to choose from.
Yeah. Isn't there supposed to be a Jay Fosgate cover in there somewhere?
There is. I think that is that might be issue 2. Okay. There is one. There's definitely, there's a Jay Fosgate cover that looks awesome. With Pecos Pete, and he's blasting away at some crows. And I feel like that's for issue 2 though. Don't quote me on that, but it's coming up. Yeah.
Either way, you know, spend as much as you possibly can on Uncanny Valley to ensure that we get more than 6 issues.
Hey kids, go get money out of your mom's purse and go to the local comic shop and buy our book.
Yeah, let's just go full cartoon advertisements they can't put on cartoons today, but they could back then. You know, let's just go full on that. Why not?
I swear there were some of those advertisements for toys and stuff that were basically telling you, they're like, hey kids, tell your mom and dad to buy you this, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was one that was like, hey kids, just grab your mom's purse.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I found the Flaviano for issue 2.
Issue 2, yeah, that's a good one.
Ooh man, all those covers. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
That features Margaret, who is Oliver's mom. She plays a prominent role in the story. Mm-hmm. And also the model for the character is my wife. So
nice. As much.
She is thrilled to be in this book. You know, when the script said that she's a nurse and she shows up at the school, you know, when he gets in trouble and she shows up in the school in her scrubs and stuff, I was like, honey, can you put your scrubs on real quick? I'm going to take some pictures. My wife was just like, I'm like, you're going to be in this comic book. How do you like that?
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Well, I put her in once. That she's in one panel of that Blade, that Blade issue I did, that little Blade one shot I did. We're both in it in the background. We're vampires basically. And I put my stepdaughter Avery in the first issue of Punisher. She's in the crowd scene of the people who on the first page at the crime scene. She's in the crowd.
Nice.
So I put myself in a, you know, I've done a little Hitchcock with you know, put myself. If you look closely at Miss Marvel and Venom, at the people who are running from falling debris, you might see a certain white bearded man running away. You know, so I like to. I've thrown in like I've drawn the editors of my books into the story as background characters and stuff like that. But this is the first time I've like taken somebody from my life and being like, "You're going to be a main character." Also, this is going to make it easier for me to draw because I'm just going to have you pose.
Sure.
For this, so put your scrubs up. We're going.
Yep, it's like how you know Uncle Sal and his wound up you know Shazam and Billy Batson. You know, you take what you can get and you roll with it. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So speaking of Punisher, to roll into that at least a little bit because we really do have to. Congratulations on that, man. Like I just read the first issue of that as it just became available on Marvel Unlimited. So I'm not done with the miniseries, but I have at least read the first issue. And obviously my initial question to you is, did you come up with the design or was that handed to you?
No, that's my design.
Awesome.
Based on, you know, rough concepts that they had. They were like, you know, this guy is an ex-SHIELD agent, so we'd like to see some sort of connection to like a SHIELD outfit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
With the way the straps and some pouches and things like that. Mm-hmm. So then, and you know, and the idea of we've got to come up with some other kind of, there needs to be a skull, but we need to do something new with it and figure out some way to do that. Basically, it was a much easier process than I thought it was going to be, and that they warned me. They actually warned me. They're like, "Listen, this could take a while. A lot of people got to look at it. A lot of people got to approve of it."
Yeah,
you know, and of course, right? The character's been around since 1972. You know, and it's iconic. The logo's iconic. You know, for all the good and bad that comes with it. You know, like it's been around and people know it. So we're doing something new here, and we're walking a kind of tightrope. But the design, you know, I came up with, I think, like 5 or 6 different designs, and that were basically just basically the chest was different. I mean, the rest of it, you know, I kind of figured out, and then it was just a matter of figuring. That's the most important part, right?
Yeah.
So I like 5 different designs. One of which is like, you know how he's got the SHIELD emblem on the side that's been sort of blacked out in areas, and it ends up making a skull. Mm-hmm. Like that was one of the designs. Like it would just be the big SHIELD eagle or whatever. But I messed with it in different. I would have different layers in Photoshop, and I was messing with it to figure out how can I turn it into a skull somehow. Yeah. But I managed to get that on his shoulder. So I had like 5 different designs. Tom Brevoort was in charge of it. He goes, yeah, we like, you know, like, let's look at these 2 right here. Like these 2 look pretty good. We'll start showing them around. And then he comes back and he's like, this might take a little bit. We'll see how it goes. And like, I think it's probably like 45 minutes later, I get an email and he's like, yeah, we're going to go with, you know, design B. No, it's ready. And he's like, that was a lot easier than anybody thought it would be.
Okay.
That's great.
And yeah, I mean, I had different versions of Joe. Joe Garrison is the new Punisher. I had different versions. Like I had a version with slightly longer hair. I had a version with a beard that I really liked, but they were like, no beard. I'm like, all right, fine. I don't have to have a beard.
And it happened to be a long gray, you know, whitish gray beard, and you know he had glasses, and he was a little bit bald, you know.
Yeah. But so yeah, I got to design it, and everybody was pretty happy with how it came out. You know, it's kind of it feels like a big deal to just come with the design for the new Punisher.
Sure.
And so I was, but what's important to me is that I look at it and I go, yeah, that's pretty good design. I like it. I think it works. It works for the character of Joe Garrison as the Punisher, and it works as sort of a new Punisher. And I think it retains what it needs to retain, but it also lets you know that it's something new. And
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy with how it came out, and I'm happy that the process was not as hard as it could have been.
Yeah.
And people.
And you were certainly paired with an excellent writer to go along with it. Yeah. I've been loving David's work, and it's this is definitely like absolutely what I wanted from a legacy Punisher. Like it feels enough like the Punisher, but also significantly different in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, David was great to work with. He's super enthusiastic. He was really into this, and he's got like this. He's one of those guys with the sort of the encyclopedic knowledge of characters and storylines. So some of the stuff, like the villains and stuff, he picked out like these obscure, villains that he's using.
I noticed that Joe was fighting a lady named Shock from the old Daredevil comics of the 90s on that cover image we saw.
Nice.
Yeah.
Outstanding, Murd.
From like 2 issues.
The first issue features Mr. Hyde, which I was very happy about.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Drawing Mr. Hyde was a lot of fun. I like drawing sort of body horror stuff, so doing Mr. Hyde was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The second issue with Shock, but she changed her name. She changed it to Fearmaster in this, but it's the same character. And that whole thing had we did like a horror vibe with that. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, David's been great to work with on it. He puts a lot of inventive ideas. It's just full on action. He's able to pack in information without it seeming like he's packing in information. He throws in some one-liners and stuff like that. I think there's a very 80s action movie feel to this comic.
Yep.
As well, there he is. Like drawing that, that's one of the things that's sort of in that's classic Dave wheelhouse, like doing a big monster.
Yes.
Like that. And then after we stuff his mouth full of the mutant growth hormone, I mean,
oh my God,
it just gets more and more fun to draw,
Absolutely.
That first issue, like David had written that there's a subway scene at the end that he wrote that I was just like, I'm gonna have fun doing this.
You get props from me, sir. Okay, because anybody who's heard me bitch and moan for no reason about the New York City subway not looking like the New York City subway, I was very happy to see that was the New York City subway. So thank you.
Yeah. I don't know how do you mess it up? I can go online now and find pictures of the New York City subway.
Yep.
Like you can. I think you can find Google Street View of Google of subway stations.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody. I like to do my research as I'm working stuff, and I always have file folders of images that I collect for every issue that I do, for all of the settings and the vehicles and everything. So I like to have lots of stuff to look at because I'm one of those people who likes to get the details right of objects and vehicles and settings and weapons and stuff like that. Sure. So yeah, but that was a fun scene to choreograph. The whole thing was fun to do.
Those kind of details are appreciated by us. I love when things look the way they're supposed to look, where they're supposed to be from. Yeah, that's great.
And I especially enjoy that this version of the Punisher's microchip is literally named AAA. So he has to call AAA in order to get out of problems. Yeah. Like that's just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't? You keep the card in your wallet, and you get a flat tire, they'll be out there. They'll be out there next week. Help you out.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And yeah, this just concluded. Was it last week? I feel like it wasn't that long ago that the last issue came out.
Yep, it was last week. I think. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And obviously it'll be collected because it's Marvel. So, the volume will be available for everybody in the not too distant future to check out. And as I said, the first issue's on Marvel Unlimited for everybody to check out as well. Dave, we did have a couple of questions from the audience because I got posted on the super group that you're going to be on that I want to get to. But before we do, I would be remiss not to mention Planet of the Apes at least a little bit further for Chris's sake and for the others on this call, because we just did the retro movie review a couple of weeks ago. Those damn dirty apes are still in my head.
So good.
Oh man.
So good. Yeah, I watched that episode. Yeah, it was so fun to watch you guys. I mean, and you hadn't seen it, right?
I had never seen it before. No.
He was a newbie.
Yep.
Great. Crazy to me. It's crazy, but you're a youth. You're a youth.
Yeah, a youth. Sure.
You're like, more youth than us.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, I didn't I'm not old enough to remember Planet of the Apes when it came out in the theaters, right?
Yeah.
I'm not that old. But I loved it. I loved it. Ever since I was a kid, and they used to play it on the weekends, and they would do marathons. Planet of the Apes, and then I swear they would show the television show.
Yes, they would.
Yep, they would.
Absolutely.
Oh man, look, it's not all good,
No, not at all.
Battle is terrible. It's terrible, but Sheriff Lobo is in it, so.
And I love Sheriff Lobo.
Well, you want to see him as a gorilla, then see Battle for the Planet of the Apes. You want to see a scene where they're like, "We're going to war," and you see like 12 people go out into a field. The Planet of the Apes. You want a Planet of the Apes movie that was filmed on what was probably the lunch budget of most movies.
Sure. Yes.
Watch Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Well, the budget declined with each film, and you saw that. So.
Yeah, it did. And
there's not many people I talk to that would remember Sheriff Lobo.
BJ McKay and then Sheriff Lobo. I mean,
well, then Lobo had his own show.
Yeah, Sheriff Lobo. Yeah. Remember the beginning when all the cop cars are wrecking into each other because and only Sheriff Lobo is the same one.
Still think I could sing some of the theme song.
Oh God, yeah, it's in there somewhere. It's in there. I've got the BJ McKay one.
Oh yeah. I have that one on my phone.
Fair,
of course.
Because there's a monkey again. Or an ape.
Yep.
Because everybody had just seen Every Which Way But Loose or whatever. Do a television show.
Any which way you can.
Yep.
I just think of Homer Simpson, Sheriff Lobo.
Sheriff Lobo. Yeah. But I got to draw a Planet of the Apes book, which is awesome.
It is awesome.
Which was I had originally back when Boom had the property, I almost got to draw a Planet of the Apes book. And it was just like I don't remember what it was. It was just sort of like my name was in the mix, like it wasn't like we're going to give it to you, but we can't, so because of scheduling or whatever. I just know that my name was in the mix somewhere,
right?
And it was for when Gabriel Hardman and Karina Becca were doing some Planet. They did like Planet of the Apes Cataclysm, and then. But Boom did a great Planet of the Apes.
Yes, they did. They sure did.
They had to explain. You guys didn't talk about it. When they land on the Earth, there's always one sure way to know whether you're on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Is the moon. But there's no moon in Planet of the Apes. I guess,
right?
The the moon, because if they saw the moon, you know.
Right.
So there's a Boom series where they explain what happened to the moon. It's so
I
good.
didn't read that one.
So good. It's so good. It's so good.
I'm guessing the short answer is they blew it all up.
I really hope it's called Planet of the Apes. That's no moon.
No, it's actually, I think it's called Cataclysm.
Okay.
But it's great.
Oh, I read Cataclysm. It was fantastic. Yeah, I remember Cataclysm.
Yeah, it's really yeah. Let's just say when those nukes that are underground, they got to go somewhere. Yep. But that was but yeah. So anyway, so I finally got to draw Planet of the Apes when it comes around to Marvel, and now that 20th Century and Disney and Marvel, they're all under Disney or whatever, but they're all still sort of separate or whatever. Same with Lucasfilm that did Star Wars stuff. So yeah, when they told me you could do some Planet of the Apes, I was like, that's awesome. That, like, sign me up. I'll draw apes all day long.
Oh yeah.
And then they were like, no, it coincides. This series ties into the new movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that's cool, Like, I mean, like it was cool, but like my heart, like where I am,
yes, of course.
Like I wanted to draw those the gorillas wearing.
Yeah, you want to draw General Ursus, basically.
Yeah,
Ursus. Yeah.
Yep.
Just draw those outfits. Draw them all, riding on horseback with their goofy little rifles and stuff like that. Like I love the design of the costumes and everything. It's so cool.
Yeah.
From the original. But this is fun. But I'm still happy to draw this book.
Oh yeah.
Because I like the new movies. I think they're really good.
They're excellent. I like them too.
But there's something I came to as an adult, not as a kid.
Sure.
Where everything influences you. But I do really like those movies, and so they were like, well, this one takes place after the first movie and in between, and you get to see what is happening in other parts of the world, and sort of it helps link together like the sort of the fall of man.
Yep.
Filling in some pieces that you don't get in the movies. But it was super fun to draw. When I get to draw gorillas, you get to draw a big gorilla swinging a stop sign like an axe, like the battle against like conspiracy nut jobs or whatever, who are armed to the teeth, and you got a bunch of apes jumping in with their homemade weapons, going at it and taking them out. I mean, that's a lot of fun. I got to redraw a scene from the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That was a lot of fun to do. There it is. Training the ape. Nothing could go wrong.
Yeah, right. Nothing.
But why are we teaching them to fight? I mean, come on. I mean, the answer's right there. Come on.
Right there. Nothing could ever go wrong. Well, if there's ever a lesson in a Planet of the Apes, is that man was the author of his own downfall.
Yeah.
And that's a theme of Planet of the Apes, and it's right here in this one too. And all that kind of like, guys, if we just work together, like we could figure this out. If we just work together. But it's just like, no, we're not going to, because people are jerks.
Yep.
And people are jerks, and fear wins out. And I mean, Planet of the Apes is for a franchise movie. Those original movies are dark.
Oh God,
you guys
Mm-hmm.
how dark those movies are.
Like we said, Dave, there's no hope.
Exactly.
There's no hope.
Exactly. I mean, it's at least not for man, not for humanity.
Yeah.
Like we did it to ourselves, and and that's what it's all about. Like, is it when you get to the end of that first movie, you're like, Dr. Zaius might be right.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And
he might be right.
Speaking of no hope, I have to depart, John, because as a history teacher, I have to go have a hopeless experience now and watch the State of the Union address. So,
Godspeed, Chris.
Oh, watch the rebuttal. The rebuttal's my favorite part.
I like Marco Rubio with the dry cotton mouth that year. That was a good one.
That was good times. That was good
Gentlemen,
times.
it was Dave, so great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on, man.
It was great to see you. Thank you.
And
Excellent.
Brothers, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, my friend.
Talk to you all soon. Ciao. You bet.
Alrighty. So I'll take that as a transition to some questions before we run out of time with you, sir. Our good friend David D, longtime friend and listener, has a very important question for you, Dave. When can we expect a new episode of the Wachter Factor podcast?
Well, the Wachter Factor is dead. Yeah, I mean, how's never? Is that a good? Let's just say I learned very quickly. What did I do? 5 episodes. I learned very quickly how time consuming it can be to put together a podcast. I applaud you guys. Like you're going on 2,000 episodes. Like wait, like that's like who else is doing that? Like. Yeah, like it was a one-man show. You know, I was trying to edit it together.
Yeah,
I was trying to put in bed music because I like that old radio where you got the bed music behind you, all that kind of stuff. You know, using music that obviously I did not have rights to use.
Right. Come on.
Just try, yeah, but by the time I was done, I was just like, oh God, I got comics to draw. Like I don't have time to do this. And it, you know, it was, but it's a lot. It's fun to do, and when you're done, you know, it reminds me of when I, you know, when I was in art school and we did film classes. I sort of majored as much as there was majors in film and video production at the end. And when you get something made and put together, it's like, oh, it's so neat. I made this. Like I put together this thing of media. Ooh, it's media, and I made it. You know, and like. This is like what I grew up on, like watching and listening and like radio, TV, and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it's David, and go to hell.
And he means it.
Was, but the Wachter Factor is just a memory. Just like it's out there. We just remember it fondly. Some things aren't meant to come back. Sorry, nostalgia. Not everything is meant to come back.
Fair enough. He did also add, by the way, that he has Uncanny Valley pre-ordered and it looks great, and that he's looking forward to it. So, excellent.
Yeah, I was with Murd on that. I jumped right on that pre-order.
Excellent.
Awesome.
John Davis has 2 questions. One, favorite Super Show memory.
Favorite Super Show memory. Jeez.
I mean, 19th anniversary. You gotta ask it.
What comes to my mind? The first thing that comes to my mind. So I'm going to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Pants on karaoke.
Yes.
Doing. Did he do last? Was it Last Train to Clarksville or
Pleasant Valley Sunday? I thought.
I think it was
Pleasant Valley Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did Pleasant Valley Sunday, and it was like one of the best karaoke performances I've ever seen in my life. He belted that out. He lived in that song while he was singing. It was so awesome. I think we made everybody downstairs mad with how loud we were being.
Oh yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
We got told to quiet down a couple times.
Well, it may have also been Raph's rendition of "I'm on a Boat" that helped that happen, but you know that's beside the point.
But that was great. Pants doing that. His love of the Monkees, just fantastic. I never got to. I always thought about. I haven't seen him in so long, and I've always wanted to talk to him about the movie Head and get his thoughts on that. Because I don't know if I've ever heard him talk about it. It's one of the best things out there ever, and I'd like to know what his thoughts are on it. But anyway, that's the one that comes to mind. There's lots of good moments, though. Oh my God, there's lots of good moments. Yeah.
I have one with you involved, actually. I Yeah, no, this is a good one. I promise. It was the quick sketch panel at Super Show, and I remember you all that you were all tasked with drawing an animal, and you drew this meticulous horse that I won the sketch of, that I still have in my collection to this day, and it was amazing the amount of time that you had to draw that, man. That was so good.
Thank you. I'll tell you what it was. Is that there were two teams going up. Fred led his team, and then we had and the challenge for that round was that the opposite team got to choose what that team would draw. So trying to think of hard things to get them to draw, right? So they come back to us. They're like, there's like 5 of us that you all need to draw horses. Yeah. Because notoriously horses are hard to draw, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're all artists over there, and they're like, oh, we hate drawing horses. Let's make them draw horses. So I'm like, all right. I draw a horse because I was drawing a Western at the time. I was working on Shadow Valley. I was drawing horses all the time. I was like, guys, I was like, you want me to draw a horse? I'm going to draw a bleeping horse right now. And I'm going to make y'all feel stupid.
Oh my God.
Because I've been drawing horses. I've been drawing horses for like the last 2 years at that point. I was like, yeah, I'll draw your horse. Yeah. But that was that was a lot of fun. And Fred, I miss Fred.
Oh my God. We all do, definitely.
That guy always brought the party.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
I'm flipping through my sketchbook just real quick to see if it happens to be in here, and I think it might be. But as I look for it, next question is actually Guns of Shadow Valley related. Any chance of an eventual return to Guns of Shadow Valley? Ryan Drost asked that question.
Oh, okay, Ryan Drost, yeah. All right. I would say, there's a better chance than the Wachter factor returning. There's always a chance. I'm going to tell you that question does sit and it has occupies a portion of my brain and my heart. So I'm never going to say never. There's no plans for anything like that. But I will not say never of it. If there is a way to make it work, if there's some sort of way to make that work, I would be, I'd be very pleased by that. Guns of Shadow Valley is still one of the things I'm most proud of. We worked on that thing probably 7-8 years altogether. From all the iterations of looking for a publisher to becoming a webcomic to eventually doing the Kickstarter and then Dark Horse publishing the thing and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a significant portion of my life, and a significant piece of my heart went into that book. I can still, it's one of the things I can still look at and fondly and page through it, and have nothing but good feelings about it. So if we're, like I said, if timing and opportunity and finances, and if it's got the right idea and the right way to do it comes up, there's always a chance.
Well, there you go. And it gave you an opportunity to draw horses better than damn anybody. So there you go. One more question in here from John Davis, and then we'll wrap things up. So you've done art for some iconic characters like TMNT and Godzilla. What's on your character wish list still?
Ooh, wow, that's a good question. Good question. I've got a few. I love drawing Swamp Thing. It's just one of the. I like drawing characters with the word "thing" in their name. So I like Swamp Thing, Man Thing, and The Thing. Those are three that I'd always love. I mean, being able to do like a Ben Grimm. I imagine like I did this one image once of Ben Grimm that's sort of like Sam Spade. He's got his, the fedora, the disguise he puts on with the fedora and the trench coat and stuff. And I actually got the pose from the famous Humphrey Bogart picture and stuff like that. And I always thought, oh, when like Ben Grimm in a noir setting or something like that, where he's just got to solve a mystery, like he's Sam Spade or Columbo or something like that. Like, how awesome would that be? I'd love to draw the Hulk. I'd love to draw. I was always a Marvel kid growing up, so those are the ones that kind of hit back into my childhood. So like the Hulk, Thor, to be able to do some sort of like Walt Simonson style, Kirby, Asgard, mythology, Thor book would be amazing. I'd love to draw all of that ephemera and design costumes and stuff like that. Yeah, that would be on the list. That's what I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah.
Well, I did find the Raven you drew me in 2007 in my sketchbook here. So the horse is, I think, in another location at the moment. But
it's not bad. Look at that perfectly round.
Hey, it's good stuff, man. And I'll also add there. Ryan Drost shared his hammerhead that you drew for him. So let's bring that up here. Hammerhead, the Wars character.
Ooh, that Hammerhead. Okay, Momon Adon.
Indeed. Yeah. Yep. And a Red Skull there by Paul that you drew for Paul Stevens. So
yeah, absolutely. I've gotten to draw. Yeah, that Hammerhead was a mashup with that. What's the G.I. Joe character's name with the Hawaiian shirt?
Chuckles. There you go. Yep.
What's that?
Chuckles.
Yeah, so that's a mashup between Hammerhead and Chuckles. And I don't know what other name he has. He's always Hammerhead to me. I had the little figure, When I got that figure, it said Hammerhead on it. You know what I mean? But that was another thing. Getting to work, my first Marvel book was that Iron Fist book.
Yes.
And right away. First of all, it's Iron Fist, and I love Iron Fist.
Oh, hell yeah!
But that was sort of one of my, if I get to draw a Marvel comic, wouldn't it be awesome to do Iron Fist? And then they're like, okay, well, it's Larry Hama's writing, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's awesome, that's amazing. Like, this is the guy that gave us all those G.I. Joe comics, those Wolverine comics in the 90s with Silvestri, who created all of the stuff in the created so much of that stuff, and it was just a legend. And I got to work with him on a 6-issue Iron Fist series, which was also Danny Rand like hanging up the fist, and he gave me all sorts of awesome to draw and everything. And that, like, what a way to kick off my time at Marvel. I couldn't. It felt like, how do you top it? Like, how do you top this now?
How do you top it? How about Roy Thomas? I mean, come on, man.
I mean, Roy Thomas. Doing the X-Men Legends. Like for somebody who's my age, and they say, do you want to go back to when Wolverine's first appearance, when he fought the Hulk, and do you want to like fill in and instead of following the Hulk, we'll follow Wolverine back to base and find out what happened? Like, you get to draw that. You get to draw the fight, scene from the fight again, and moments in between that you didn't see before, and draw that whisker mask and basically draw the story of Wolverine. I always tell people, well, what's that story about? They're like, that's the story of Wolverine's new mask. Because that's what it was. Like, at the end, it's sort of like, what's this story about? It's about Wolverine getting his new mask and meeting the Beast, and it was yeah, that was a thrill to work on too. And both of those guys working in a pseudo Marvel method where I get to like sort of figure out how to lay out the page and all that stuff. I got a lot more control over it because they're using old styles of writing, and because I really like that Marvel method of where the writer just sort of like tells you what's happening. I figure out the pace of everything, and then they come back in and write the dialogue, you know, like to fit with whatever I've drawn. I like had a thrill working in that method of stuff, and so those were a couple of cool projects. I think they were like, I think Marvel was like, we need somebody who can work with the old guys. Let's give them somebody who looks like an old guy.
My.
The beard to make it happen. That's the way it rolls. That's the way it rolls. Oh my god. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, Dave, I want to thank you so much for joining us, man. This has been an absolute pleasure. A reminder once again, Uncanny Valley coming to stores very, very soon. So please get your orders in if you have not already done so. This is going to be a heck of a book, and I want to see it go more than 6 issues. Absolutely. So,
me too. Yes. Thank you, guys. Happy 19th anniversary. I don't feel old at all. But you guys look great. Adam's sitting down there looking exactly the same as he's looked. Yep. Maybe his camera's just bad. I don't know, but he looks exactly the same as ever to me. So I lost all my hair on top of my head and got a big white beard. You know, like, I've gone through like 3 different transformations in that time, and here's this guy looking exactly the same. I don't get it.
Time and I have an understanding, Dave.
Exactly. And it's all that Christmas magic thrown in there too. You know, he's got it all built up.
Mm-hmm. He's got Christmas magic keeping him young. Yeah. Well, if you wanna look, if you wanna talk to Time for me, get me the hookup. I could really. Like if I could, because I'm afraid of where I'm going from here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm holding on to this as long as I can. Not sure what's next for me. I mean, just straight up like super old dude. So, like, I need to make some sort of pact. I need to go to a crossroads somewhere. I don't know. Make some sort of deal with somebody.
The beard, the way it is right now, though, that works for you, man. I absolutely love it. Like, it's such a statement.
Well, if you say that too many times, it'll all just fall out. You know. But yeah, I just need to make like a 1 more day deal or something like that. Like, just.
I'll see what I can broker for you, Dave. Just make no deals with any mysterious trench-coated, cloven-hoofed gentleman until you hear from me.
All right. But guys, it was so good to see you guys. Adam, do you guys go around to shows much, or are you going to be at any shows?
I'm afraid that phase in CGS's history is done.
Yeah, I mean, I do New York every year, and that's kind of as far as I go personally. But I kind of want to go back to Baltimore at some point, so maybe that might be as far out as I go. But I don't know, C2E2, just going to Chicago just for a con anymore, I don't think is happening in my cards. Like, for vacation, sure, but not for Cetos, unfortunately, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. Chicago's a beautiful town.
I love it. Yep. I'm actually visiting Cleveland in like mid-April to do Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and see a Guardians game.
I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
Why do people keep saying that?
No, he does live in Pittsburgh, you know.
I know.
It's required.
I know.
Yeah. I've been in Pittsburgh for 14 years. I have to diss on Cleveland.
That is fair.
Originally, I have to diss on Cleveland. My mom lives there. My brother and his family live there. I go back a few times a year. Cleveland's nice. Cleveland's great. You know, I like Cleveland. So I just had to get that out of the system.
Oh no, please.
But Cleveland's like the New Jersey of Northern Ohio. Everybody picks on it, but it's actually kind of nice.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Yeah.
And I look forward to visiting Pittsburgh at some point as well. It is very much on my list, so I will let you know when that happens. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. We got good things going on here in Pittsburgh. It's a good town. I like it. I found happiness here.
Good. That's all that matters, man. That's what matters the most. Let people know where they can find you on the internets and all that jazz.
Just it's my website's a travesty that I'm trying to get onto Squarespace and do something about. But you can find me on all the social medias. That's how you say it, social medias.
Yeah, sure.
Just look up Dave Wachter. It's Dave Wachter on Instagram. It's Dave Wachter on whatever Twitter's called now. If you still, it's Dave Wachter Art on Facebook. It's Dave Wachter on Threads. It's Dave Wachter something Blue Sky dot something.
Yeah.
On Blue Sky, but basically, if you can find my name, you can find me. I'm the guy with the beard who draws the funny books.
There you go. Yep.
And I'm happy to say hi.
Fantastic. And we definitely need to make this a more often thing, my friend. This was an absolute joy. And thank you so much for coming back on the show. We really do appreciate it.
You're here.
It's been too long. It's been way too long. Happy to come back on anytime you'll have me. And just thank you so much for having me on. This was awesome.
Absolutely our pleasure, man. All right. Have a good rest of your night, my friend. And we will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Good night, guys.
All right. Good night. All right. Wow. So great to have Dave on, man. It's for a 19th anniversary show. What better than to have somebody who's quite literally been involved with the show since the very beginning as a fan and a friend and just a great person.
It was so great to see him.
Perfect guest for the occasion.
Absolutely.
The book was awesome. I mean, this is not us being facetious or anything. It was fantastic.
No. Yeah. It had the feel of like an 80s fantasy movie, you know?
Yeah.
It's got that like Spielberg, Zemeckis, Reitman vibe to it. And one of the high concepts I saw that Dave introduced for this was like, it's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit meets something else. I'm going to slot in The Last Starfighter because that's what it felt like.
There you go.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just...
Yep. Well, if you have not ordered it yet, please do so. If not, go to your local comic shop and hopefully they will have a copy. It once again going to be hitting its stands on April 10th. So do check that out. And there's something else that we have to do at a 19th anniversary show. And that, of course, is some air harp.
One day, an actual harpist for like a symphony orchestra or something is going to track me down and beat me senseless. I'm sure the movements of my fingers when I do that bear very little resemblance to actual harp playing, but it's the best I can do.
Oh, I was going to say one of these days you're just going to show up with a harp, and
that's what I thought you were going with.
And then we're just going to be very, very surprised in all the right ways.
Okay.
Excellent.
Challenge noted.
All right, there you go. Well,
or at least it's going to be a little animated Murd with a harp on your shoulder.
Yep.
Right. And one with a pitchfork leaning up against my other ear. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it is indeed time for Muddle the Murd, and Murd is here to explain how you can attempt to muddle the Murd. And once again, we know we say this a lot. Please get your submissions in. We are getting low on the queue, and I want to make sure we have at least 5 or 6 of these banked at all times. So please follow the instructions of Mr. Murd and attempt to muddle the sucker. And here we go.
All right. To muddle this sucker, what you got to do is come up with 3 comic book trivia questions, a Marvel question, a DC question, and a third question about comics from some non-Marvel or DC publisher. They also need to be chronologically distributed so that one of them is about comics pre-1970, one about comics between 1970 and 2000 inclusive, so the years 1970 and 2000 are included in that range, and a third question about comics post-2000. So come up with your questions, make sure you include the answers, make sure to ask questions only about story content, nothing about the advertisements or letter columns or like the physical formats of the comics themselves, unless that relates to the story in some way. Don't go too too micro level, no throwaway background details, just stuff that relates somewhat significantly to plot or character, please. And come up with those 3 questions, give the answers, put them into an email addressed to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com with Muddle the Murd in the subject line. If you're feeling confident, feel free to include your mailing address, because if I fail to answer any of your 3 questions correctly when Quizmaster Ian reads them to me, that means you will have muddled this sucker, and this sucker will then have to mail you a fabulous prize at his own expense. And we've got some very nice prizes right now, thanks to Mr. Eberly and his trolling recent local comic book shows to him. He's got some nice trades lined up for me to offer as prizes. And if you'll just give me a moment, I'll show you what today's would-be muddler will be playing for.
Excellent. As he goes off screen, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? I feel like we need to get some sort of music bed for opportunities like this. But
yeah, and not do 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 do. No Jeopardy, just something else.
Yes, exactly.
Exciting.
That's how you get taken off of YouTube. So yeah,
right.
Yep.
All right. This prize bears the unmistakable hallmarks of its donor. A more Eberlian prize there could not possibly be. Black Panther, A Complete Collection, Volume 1. This is of course, the Christopher Priest written run with art by Joe Jusko and Mark Teixeira and various other individuals. And it collects, I'm sure this is going to tell me, so yes, issues number 1 through 17.
Ooh, I was right. In my head, I'm thinking 1 through 17.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Spot on, Shane.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, no muddle credit is awarded for that.
Yeah,
But
that's true. Story of my life. It's okay.
Excellent. Well, I'm pretty sure you're not going to have to mail this one overseas. So this will hopefully be the case this time around. As Ross Duquette is our muddle attemptee this time around.
Yep, I remember Ross. He was a participant in last year's Best of Voting, and he's already got his ballot in for this year.
Excellent. Oh. Fantastic. Well, Ross has these words of wisdom to share with us before he gets it going. Greetings, fellow lovers of all things comics. Your show is my favorite podcast, and I particularly enjoy the Muddle the Murd segments. First, I want to thank Adam for making my day by reading some of my nomination email in the Best of 2022 nominations episode, as was just stated by Mr. Murd. Your inclusion of audience participation is one of the things that makes your podcast special. Thank you very much for those kind words there, Ross.
Yes.
Now, my favorite muddle submissions are the ones that have an underlying theme. Those are also my favorites, so thank you. I recently watched Black Adam and was impressed by the scenes involving Dr. Fate, and so I have decided to leave my comic selections up to fate.
Oy.
I used a random number generator to pick 3 boxes of comics. I pulled the first comic in the first box, and then the first comic that fell within the muddle submission guidelines in the subsequent boxes. Adam, Murdo, not Black, is excellent at remembering names, and each of these issues features a character or entity that is central to the plot and has a name I did not remember from my previous readings. Here are my name-related questions from comics chosen by fate. This is fantastic. All right, we begin with 1957 with Harvey, Alarming Tales number 2. In the story, I Want to Be a Man by Jack Kirby. It's the only emphasis I could put on that. A calculating machine becomes so advanced that it achieves consciousness. It expresses that it has the right to be a man and have a body so it can move. Although making a portable computer seems as impossible as rebuilding a power plant so you could wear it on your wrist, a robot body is eventually created. What is the computer/robot's name?
This is an excellent question. Some early Kirby stuff happening here. You can kind of see where he got the inspiration for Machine Man and also the Silver Surfer villain Quasimodo later on. But of course, I've never read Alarming Tales number 2, and so all I can do is guess. What's a good name for a... Okay, what I'm about to guess here is really more typical of the kind of questions that our friend Britton Payne sometimes asks. Because one time he muddled me with 3 muddle questions, the answers to which were the syllables of my own name.
I don't remember that. Oh, wow.
I'm going to go ahead and say a good name for the first of a new race of computer men would be Adam. That's my answer.
That is a very good name for a robot. This is, however, not the name of this robot. The correct answer is Fabiac. Fabiac, spelled F-A-B-I-A-C.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We now move over to Marvel, 1987 to be specific. Elektra Assassin number 8. In the story Hail to the Chief by Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz. What was that, Chris? What was that? There. A demon possesses the president of the United States with the intention of bringing about nuclear Armageddon. What is the president's name?
All right. Fictional Marvel Universe president written by Frank Miller. Oh, my. I don't even really have a cogent guess here, so I'm just going to say the name of another politician that Red Miller has written, Randolph Cherry.
Well, the answer, my friend, is blowing on Ken Wind. Ken Wind is the name of the president. And the answer is blowing on Ken Wind.
Yes. That rings a distant wind chime.
Yeah.
I think I have heard of that character before, but yeah.
All right. Well, we are down to 2002's DC Batman number 608.
Okay.
Here we go. In the story Hush, Chapter 1, The Ransom, fantastic, by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, the heir to a chemical company fortune is kidnapped by Killer Croc. The chemical company has been acquired by LexCorp and is producing a defoliant that makes napalm look like lipstick. What is the name of the chemical company?
All right. Now I know I've read this, so really no excuse. I can almost I can kind of picture Killer Croc being down in the sewers afterwards. I mean, this is the mutated Killer Croc we're talking about.
Yep.
I'm sure the name is going to sound familiar to me once I hear it, but boy. Again, I'm just going to have to utter the name of another related concept. And when you think of Batman and you think of chemical companies, you, of course, think of Ace Chemical. So that's what I'm going to say.
Well, the correct answer is Lamont Chemical.
Nope. Wouldn't remember that one.
Just kind of pretty close to Dumont, or DuPont, I should say.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Ross, I hope you like Black Panther.
And if you don't, here's your chance to develop the taste.
Indeed. And
excellent, Chris.
Yeah, excellent questions.
And of your own, yes, excellently penned questions, Ross. I'm very glad that this is going to a loyal friend and true such as yourself. And let me also say here, though, that after my last muddle, I'm happy that I didn't have to send it across overseas after all. Because Timo, the muddler that time, actually lives in Canada, so it did still need to go internationally, but at least it didn't have to go across the Atlantic. So Timo, if you're listening, I did mail out your prize, your Howard the Duck trade some time ago. Hopefully, it's reached you safely.
Excellent.
Howard the Duck.
I very much hope it has, to say the least. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, random number generator, for getting things started.
Yeah. Leaving my fate in the hands of fate.
Excellent. All right, gentlemen, before we wrap up, any comics recently read or comics related things that you'd like to discuss?
Well, I'm caught up on issue 2 of Cobra Commander and Duke. Fabulous. They're so much fun to read, and they put so many neat Easter eggs in that I'm still very excited as to what's coming next for these 2 miniseries. The most recent G.I. Joe and Transformers are really good, still going strong there.
Nice.
I have to catch up on Void Rivals. And just today, I think, was announced the next miniseries after Duke and Cobra Commander are Destro and Scarlet.
Oh, nice.
So it looks like they're running through some of the main characters. I would love to see them go if they're going to do a few of these miniseries before leading into what I can only assume would be a new main G.I. Joe book for this Energon universe, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of these miniseries continue and then lead into a special missions book that might be 6 to 10 issues, 12 issues, and then go into the main G.I. Joe book, building up this Energon universe. But we'll see what happens. But very, very good. Very well done. Thundercats 1 I read, very well done as well. Ooh, very reminiscent of the first cartoon, but giving its own little spin. Our art was very well done, so that I'm looking forward to more issues of that as well.
Yeah, I gotta get on that, Shane. So thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, it was very well done, very good,
excellent.
Gotta tell you, you know, as little as I normally care about G.I. Joe, a Destro miniseries is actually kind of tempting to me. That's one character from that franchise that I always did find kind of interesting.
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, that'd be great.
Murd, any recent reads or thingies that you'd like to discuss?
I got a couple thingies here, Ian.
There you go.
I'm gonna flash those thingies on screen right now.
Whoa! This isn't an Uncle Sal show. Come on.
I picked up that Superman one myself. I don't have the second one. I have a Batman one, but I picked up the Superman one after Chris said about it.
Nice.
Yep. These are the Superman Meshi manga collections that DC has put out here in the States semi-recently. I believe Volume 3, which I don't have yet, was published in early February. Okay. It might be in my next DCBS shipment. But yeah, they're little manga volumes here, $9.99 each, and they're collecting like 7 stories each about Superman doing a little culinary tourism. He becomes addicted to different restaurant chains over in Japan. And it's about Superman just flying over there compulsively, like as often as possible during his Clark Kent lunch breaks from the Daily Planet to hit up a different Japanese restaurant chain, all of which I'm assuming are owned by the same like restaurant conglomerate over there who entered into a commercial agreement with DC Comics to produce these things.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
As you can see on the screen there, they're written by Satoshi Miyagawa, art by Kai Kitago, and they feature Superman and a lot of his supporting cast and his pals in the Justice League as he slowly gets his teammates one by one hooked on different Japanese restaurants. I mean, there's not a lot of superhero action going on here. There is a little bit of character stuff, like he visits Pa Kent's grave in the one story before jetting off to eat some gyoza or whatever in Japan. Just enough to make these things feel like stories featuring actual characters as opposed to just commercials for restaurants featuring an advertising mascot, which at some level is what they are. But it's still Superman. He's an enjoyable, likable character. He's just this childlike innocence he exhibits as he just pigs out on all these different Japanese dishes, and it's just goes into loving detail of just the different ways, the rituals you have to undergo to order in these different restaurants, and what the food is like when it gets there, and what best condiments to use on the dishes that you ordered. It's not to be read on an empty stomach.
You're reminding me that one of the things that I was gonna bring up was Delicious in Dungeon has an anime that has recently premiered that's available on Netflix, and I've been watching through that, and never has mushroom monsters that you can saute in a pan looked more appealing, and my favorite is they find these mimic monsters that mimic coins, but they try to attack you. But they're actually very tasty when boiled. So go figure.
Wow. I remember you telling us about that manga and thinking, it's a culinary manga about people who go trolling dungeons looking for ingredients for food rather than just treasure and stuff. So it's kind of cool that they've gone ahead and made an animated version of that.
Indeed, yep, and it is. There is a dubbed version of it available on Netflix along with the subbed version. So if you don't feel like reading, you don't have to. So good times.
Okay. And that is Delicious in Dungeon, yes.
Indeed, Delicious in Dungeon. Yep, fantastic. Anything else you've gotten into the chance to sink your teeth in, or is that about it?
That's about it for now. I've been doing a lot of speed reading of the comics of 2023 for our upcoming nominations show. But I've got my list almost, at least I've got my list from which my final list will be drawn almost finalized.
There you go. There you go. I mostly have my list finalized, but there's something that I want to mention. Whether or not it winds up on my list is still TBD. But I read the first 5 issues of Jed MacKay's Avengers, which was the Avengers relaunch after Jason Aaron's long run on the title. This is a very much a more grounded take on the Avengers, even though they're still dealing with some very mighty circumstances. It's just taking the Avengers back to basics. The chairperson of the group this time around is Captain Marvel, and she decides to put together a very thin group of Avengers that cover specific archetypes. The Icon, Sam Wilson, Captain America. He's also the down-to-earth, can drive a truck when he needs to drive it type of person when he needs to be. The Witch, Scarlet Witch, the Construct, the Vision, the God, Thor, the Engineer, Iron Man, and the King, Black Panther. That's your Avengers team. That's it. It's just a nice 7-person team, and immediately, because it's Jed MacKay, they're thrust into the aftermath of his Timeless one-shot, dealing with Kang, and Kang is near death and meets Captain Marvel and basically exchanges information that will save 1,000 lives in order for him to be saved from a state of near death, and also to warn them that there's danger coming very, very soon, in the form of the Impossible City and its inhabitants. And where that goes from there. The Impossible City is inhabited by these multiversal menaces that the Avengers are going to have to deal with, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a very straightforward Avengers comic, and it's absolutely what I needed. You don't need to have read 800 issues of anything in order to understand what's going on. It's the Avengers dealing with a threat, and that's it. And so far, it's 100% what I was looking for in a comic. So good. Avengers Volume 1 by Jed MacKay, The Impossible City. That first volume is available in full on Marvel Unlimited, and in a first volume available, wherever you find your comics. So
good deal.
Kind of sounds like MacKay's trying to do like his take on Grant Morrison's JLA, but with the Avengers.
Yeah. Really does.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're not too far off from that general idea there. Yep, trimming down the fat to try to get like the essential members of the Avengers on one team together in order to battle what needs to be battled. Yep. So absolutely well worth it. Something that wasn't quite well worth it that I will mention in passing here as my final tidbit. I bit the bullet, gentlemen. I went to the movie theater. I sat myself down. I'm sure Chris Everly, if he did see it, will discuss it on our next full comic talk. But I saw Madam Web.
I went and saw Dune 2 instead.
You made the right choice.
Yes, I did. It was awesome.
Madam Web was not.
Which is such a shame, because some of the trailers didn't look bad. The costumes look great.
Well, okay, yeah, those costumes looked great. So I'm gonna do my best not to spoil too much here, but I will spoil this in saying the costumes show up for approximately 2 minutes and 36 seconds.
Oh, for God's sake!
They're all flash forwards or dreams. Like you don't get any costumes in this outside of, pardon my French, bullshit Spider-Man costume on the main villain. The other costumes that we see, they're all like possible like what if futures that you barely get to experience in the movie itself. And the way I described it on Facebook is exactly what the movie is. Wow. That man, that's a lot of spiders. It's a lot of spiders, man. Spider-Man. This is a Spider-Man movie. We want it to be a Spider-Man movie. Guys, hello. Yeah. On
Facebook, you posted a Fozzie the Bear gif to drive that home.
Which is exactly the case. It's like you're waiting for the punchline that never comes. Uncle Ben is in this movie. as a character, Adam Scott plays Ben Parker. We see Mary Parker. She's very pregnant. Whether or not this is ever going to matter, we don't know, nor do we care, and neither does really the movie. They're characters that are in it to try to be like, hey, this is taking place in the mid-2000s. We're eventually going to get a Spider-Man somewhere, right? But it's... The entire movie would have worked so much better had they not tried to shoehorn in all the Spider-Man stuff. And there was so much ADR in this movie. Like, they didn't decide what they wanted some of the characters to say until after filming. They were on screen, and they were there. But every single thing that Ezekiel says, I'd say 99% of what Ezekiel says as a character, he's saying while you're not looking at his face. Because they added it in post.
Jeez.
And Tahar Rahim is a good actor. He's been in other things and I've enjoyed him in it. This is not one of those moments. Emma Roberts plays Mary Parker in this movie, along with Adam Scott, another actor that I'd love to see play an actual Uncle Ben that mattered, but not going to happen this time around. Dakota Johnson's sleepwalking through the whole damn thing. Sydney Sweeney's okay as Julia Carpenter. She's not. Oh, actually, no. I'm sorry. She's not even called Julia Carpenter in the movie. So it's a misnomer that her character name is Carpenter, because throughout they call her Cornwall, Julia Cornwall,
which was Julia Carpenter's maiden name in the comics.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
But that is the name that she goes by in this. And then the other Spider Women that they throw in there, there's a offhand reference Maddie Franklin makes to her Uncle Jonah at one point to drive that point across a little bit more. But it's an hour and 45 minutes of nothing. It is a nothing burger of a movie. And it's a real disappointment.
It sounds it. Good heavens.
Yeah, and it's not even that. Like, I like the interaction between the female characters and everything. It's just there's really no story to go with that interaction. So you want to see a nice buddy movie with a bunch of kids running around while they're being chased by a strange dude in a dime store spider costume, then by all means watch it when it's available for free on whatever service it's going to be on. But do not spend your money on Madam Web. If I didn't have a list, I wouldn't have seen it either. But there's a reason this movie tanked.
Which I mean, not that I had much high hopes to begin with, but I don't have high hopes for Craven either.
Yeah, Sony needs to stop.
Yeah, they really do.
Sony needs to stop until they've actually developed an actual Spider-Man for these movies. Like, if you're gonna do Andrew Garfield, fine. Yeah. Just officially do it. Like, just don't pussyfoot around this situation and be like, these are Spider-Man characters. Who's Spider-Man? I've never heard of Spider-Man. That's crazy. Or
just
I've heard of
Spider-Verse.
Thank you. Yeah. The worst part is, like in Morbius, we're going to go after Spider-Man. Spider-Man's never appeared in any of these movies. How do you even know that there is one? It's whatever.
Yeah. I haven't watched any of them. I have the first Venom, but I have not watched either Venom, Morbius, or I won't see this either. Anytime soon. The
two Venoms are much better than Morbius or this. I have my doubts on that Craven is going to be anywhere near as good as Venom, but
I mean, I'd love to be proved wrong because I love Craven as a character. I love the whole Craven's Last Hunt saga. That's my my favorite Spider-Man story. But
yep, no bueno, folks, no bueno.
That's a shame.
All right, and I'll save my Mexico City journeys for our next comic talk, and we'll go ahead and shoot our bolt here. But what a great way to celebrate 19 years, gentlemen. It couldn't do it any other way than have somebody like Dave on and fully enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, and I will say, definitely, in my opinion, go see Dune 2. It was fabulous.
Oh, I'm going.
I loved it.
Yeah,
every minute of it.
I'm definitely going to. Once the Oscar season is over and done with, I'll be back at the theaters seeing, everything to catch myself up on it. And I need to see Dune 2 on the biggest possible screen that I can see it on. No question.
I'm even contemplating trying to go down to King of Prussia to the IMAX and seeing it on 70 millimeter film.
Yep.
It's one of 12 theaters in the world to have 70 millimeter Dune 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think one or two of them are in New York, if I remember correctly. Okay. So, yeah, I know Lincoln Center has it, so that might be where I wind up seeing it eventually. So,
just very intrigued. I saw it over at the what's now AMC, but the Why I'm Missing 8, and it was on their FTX, so that was the biggest screen around here.
Nice
for my taste.
Yep. And I just want to say, gentlemen, on the fact that it is 19 years and whatnot, I want to, just say I was a fan first. I bought this shirt, at a CGS event long before I was a member of the cast, and just, here's to CGS in all its glory, forever may it reign. So
it's amazing. I can't believe it's been 19 years.
Yep. And here's to you, Ian, and all that you have done to see to it that glory continues to reign.
Yeah. Cheers, my friend. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Alrighty. One more reminder, Murd, on the best of 2023 submissions and where to send them.
Mm-hmm. Last shot to participate, folks. It's send them to bestof, BESTOF, at comicgeekspeak.com by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, that is, on Sunday, March 10th.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. I've got my ballot like 9/10 done. I've got like one more category to fill in, and then I'll be all set and ready to go. And as long as you tally those votes, that might very well be our next episode. So that's looking forward to it.
Yep, you just leave that to me.
Excellent.
Me, I've got lots of options for each category. I'm just going to leave it loose so that I'm not stepping on the listeners' toes, because I'm sure there are going to be a lot of very close races in the listener nominations, and I want to make sure that they make their voices heard without us shouting them down.
Exactly. Absolutely. And once again, thank you folks, patreon.com/comicgeekspeak for making all this fun happen. And I would like to thank Shane's internet for lasting long enough for him to record this episode. And
I can't tell you the last time I had this much internet problems. It's been years like this.
I was saying while you were gone on one of the blips, Shane, it's like it figures on an anniversary episode.
Yeah.
Your internet starts acting like 19 years ago. Like,
yeah. Oh my God. It was horrible. I was waiting for dial-up to start.
Oh my God. Well, oh God, I'm having like war flashbacks right now as you make those noises. Jeez. All right. And the floor goes over to you, Shane, to end this up.
Alrighty, visit us at comicgeekspeak.com to send an email. The address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com. Look us up on YouTube at youtube.com/comicgeekspeak. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Well, I guess it's X now. Gosh, I have to change that yet. Thanks to everyone who contributes to the show. Send in your Muddle the Murds. Like Ian said, we're running out. We want to have a stockpile. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time, for 19 years and counting.
In 2 more years, the show can legally drink.
That's right.